Your Right Factors on tonight.
When cities and states refuse to help enforce immigration laws, our nation is less safe.
The big battle over sanctuary cities continues. Seattle now suing the feds. Tonight, we'll talk with the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions.
Sanctuary cities are safe havens for criminal aliens and not their innocent victims.
Judge Pirro is outraged because it takes so long for illegal alien cases to be even heard in court. She will be here. Also ahead, Bernie Goldberg on whether cable news is destroying America. And Waters with a very unusual spring break story.
We had a dance party earlier after we finished the kitchen floor that took us days to make.
Caution, you are about to enter the no spin zone. The factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. The brawl over sanctuary cities, that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. As you may know, the federal government is threatening cities that do not cooperate with Homeland Security with the loss of federal grant money. And now the city of Seattle suing the feds over that, the first of many lawsuits, I believe. The basic problem is that cities like Chicago, Seattle, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco do not want to hold illegal aliens they've arrested until ICE can pick them up. Those cities want to release the aliens on bail or their own recognizance. Talking Points believes that's dangerous and irresponsible. If there is a federal detainer request on someone who should not be in the country, that request should be honored. It's just common sense. The sanctuary city people say they will obey a warrant for an illegal alien. But that's a much more complicated process. Immigration agents have to go to a federal judge, present evidence before a warrant will be signed. It takes much more time than a detainer, which just requires the signature of an ICE agent. In a moment, Judge Jeanine Pirro will tell us about the backlog of immigration cases, which is astronomical. Now, why is this all happening? In a city like New York, the mayor is a far-left individual who was elected by very liberal voters. Mayor de Blasio sees himself as a defender of the poor and downtrodden. He opposes immigration regulations in general and is fine with millions of undocumented people living in and visiting this city. De Blasio has absolutely no problem with that, none. So the mindset of de Blasio, Rahm Emanuel in Chicago, and other far-left mayors is that their constituency wants open borders and amnesty, so they play to that constituency. Enter the federal government, which now wants to enforce immigration law because President Trump made that a hallmark of his campaign. And so you have two opposing forces with little chance of reconciliation. Should be noted that the federal appeals courts have never required local governments to comply with detainer requests. It's optional. You can't be arrested if you defy a detainer. An official can be arrested if he or she defies a warrant. Finally, to make sanctuary cities comply with federal law, the Trump administration will now withhold money from them in the form of Justice Department grants. That means cities like Seattle, which receive millions of dollars to beef up local law enforcement and institute safety programs, may no longer get that money, which is why Seattle is suing. Whole thing's a giant mess and reflects the huge division in this country. Will sanctuary cities be forced to comply? Doubtful, but they will pay a price. And that's the memo. Now for the top story, an interview with the Attorney General of the United States. Jeff Sessions joins us now from Washington. Am I making any mistakes in my analysis, Mr. Attorney General?
I think that's pretty close, Bill. This is a serious matter. The American people, by 80% margin, believe these sanctuary cities are wrong. It clearly makes their own cities less safe. And as you know, the Kate Steinle story, that murderer who'd been deported, 7 times, came back into San Francisco because he felt safe there.
Yeah.
He had a sanctuary there before he murdered that wonderful young lady.
Well, I'll tell you,
so
you know,
it's a big deal.
He hasn't been convicted yet, but he's certainly an accused murderer, and he's going on trial very soon. Now,
Well said.
Is the Justice Department, do you ever target non-criminal aliens for deportation? And if so, who?
Yes, sometimes they are apprehended. For example, we had one last month named Vallis, who was a known gang member who he was arrested. ICE placed a detainer on him. They ignored it in Denver, and a few weeks later he murdered and robbed an individual in the area. So you don't have to be a criminal, but that's our top priority,
Okay,
as you know.
So this man did not have a criminal record when you you asked for a detainer, but you knew he was a member of a gang, and the city of Denver still wouldn't hold him. Then he got out and he murdered somebody. But I'm talking about the millions of illegal aliens who work in the farms in California and in Florida and working as chambermaids or whatever. You don't have a squad or a crew going after them, do you?
No, you're correct. That is not where the ICE is focusing its effort at all. We're doing a lot of good things. For example, you know, it looks like the entries at the border are down 60% just because of President Trump's strong leadership. And as we continue to build a wall and beef up our forces and bring in more judges, we'll be even more successful there. That's the way to solve this problem. And if we stay at it, we can create a lawful system of immigration, one that admits 1.1 million people lawfully right now, every year, and one that we can be proud of as a nation.
Well, we don't want anarchy. Now, is there any other way to punish sanctuary cities other than denying them the Justice Department grants, which will hurt them a little bit, but it's certainly not going to put them out of business? And, you know, you've heard the rhetoric from Rahm Emanuel and de Blasio here in New York and the mayor of San Francisco that they're going to defy you. Is there any other punitive measure the Trump administration is thinking about taking?
Well, we don't want to take any measures. We want to see these cities comply. I was pleased that Miami complied. I was pleased to see the president of the Maryland Senate reject a House-passed bill and say Maryland would not be a sanctuary state. He said that unequivocally. He's a Democrat. So I think a lot of these leaders need to hear from their constituents. You're right, it's not going to devastate their budgets. We don't have that much money that will be controlled, but it is a signal and a refuting of their
But is there anything else that's being discussed in the Trump administration to punish the sanctuary cities? Any other denying of funds or anything else?
We are looking at other possibilities that would be detrimental.
Can you give me an example,
to people.
Mr. Attorney General?
I'm not prepared to give that now.
Come on, a no spin zone big. All right, but you're discussing other things that you're going to do or possibly do.
Yeah, well, in the future, we can put requirements on some. Right now, under the Obama administration, they sent out grant notices that required people to assert they're in compliance with the laws and threatened cutting off of various funds if they didn't comply. So we'll continue to pursue that and go further.
Yeah, if you get into the transportation area, but it's going to be lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. I'm sure you're
right. There are
prepared for
limits on what you can do.
Right. Now, I want to ask you one question about the Russian investigation, which you've recused yourself from. Is there a liaison in the Justice Department that is working with the FBI, actively working with the FBI right now?
Yes, we do have persons within the Department of Justice that work with the FBI every day, and they're persons working on all the cases.
Okay, so you have contact, and then, you know, you'll, of course, know what's coming back and forth.
What I'm recused on, I do not keep up with that investigation. You're not even going to get
even a whisper in the hallway or anything? You're not going to get anything?
No, I do not.
Okay. Finally, Loretta Lynch was your peer in the Obama administration's last year. Did you speak with her on the way out? I mean, she did things, you know, a lot differently than you're doing them, that's for sure.
Well, we've changed a few policies, no doubt, but you know, she is a very gracious lady. She wrote me the nicest letter when she left, and I called her and we had a nice conversation about it. She'd already left Washington by the time I assumed the office. But yeah, she's a special, wonderful lady, and we had a great conversation.
Okay, final question for you. The leakers in the various agencies, federal agencies, you guys zeroing in on them? Do you think you're going to have some indictments shortly?
I expect that we'll get to the bottom of some of this. This is not right. We've never seen this kind of leaking. We've never seen, it's almost as if people think they have a right to violate the law, and this has got to end, and probably it will take some convictions to put an end to it.
Do you foresee indictment shortly?
Well, I won't predict that. I would just say that I take that very seriously. What's happening now is not correct and must stop.
All right, Mr. Attorney General, we really appreciate it. Anytime you want to say something, I hope you'll come to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the rundown, as mentioned, Judge Pirro, outrage over the illegal alien court situation. Then the Trump haters have already convicted the president in the Russia deal. There were hearings and controversy today, new controversy. Colonel Peters has some thoughts. Those reports after these messages.
Why pay a coyote $10,000?
Yeah, and that's what he said, it's down about 60%.
Right.
Now, what about the people who don't show up? Because a lot of the immigrants that come in here, migrants, illegal aliens, whatever you want to call them, they're given a desk ticket or something.
Right, like a DAT.
Yeah,
yes.
and you have to come back now, but they don't.
They don't.
So what happens to them?
Nothing.
Well, do they go in a computer, the nice computer then? Do they go into a system, a database?
Do you remember last year, Bill, that the Obama administration accidentally removed the names of all of those who were wanted in the immigration system?
I don't remember that.
I do.
Well, that's why you're on the program.
No, that's why you're the host.
Okay.
I'm not.
So you're saying that there was a giant erasure of people who didn't show up?
Of people within the system. Okay, these cases get lost. The files get lost. The people get lost. We don't have the resources. Look, right now we need 520 judges, and we have 301 immigration judges. We don't have enough judges. We don't have enough courts. All we can do now is stem the tide. We cannot deal with what is already here. They have been flown all over the country. We don't even know who they are or where they've been flown to.
Right. All right. So anarchy reigns.
Indeed.
And they're trying to stop the flow coming in and then take care of it after that. But still, if you're an illegal alien, the odds are you're going to stay. You're going to stay unless you commit a heinous crime. You're going to stay. Unless
you commit a heinous crime, you're going to stay. And with these sanctuary cities, unless we hurt them where it hurts, which is in the pocketbook, and I really believe that the decision to withhold federal monies, unless they agree.
Yeah, it's got to be more money than the Justice Department has. So it's going to have to be a separate thing.
That's law enforcement money. If you're not safe, you're not going to be happy.
There's a judge directly ahead. If you watch our cable competition, you think the president would have already been charged with the crime of the Russian deal. That, of course, is nonsense, but today more controversy. We'll tell you about it when we come back. And in the Impact segment tonight, the never-ending Russia presidential campaign situation. As you may know, some on the far left are trying to delegitimize the Trump administration by saying members of his campaign colluded with Putin to undermine the election.
It would surprise me if there was no coordination between his campaign. I don't want to believe that that's true, but at this point, the facts point in that direction.
Yeah. What facts? What facts? Mr. Murphy doesn't say, and he wasn't even asked about it on that dopey channel. Today, there was a hearing in the Senate and new information about who showed Congressman Devin Nunes classified information on the White House grounds. Joining us from Washington, Fox News strategic analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. First of all, John Roberts just sent up this to me. And this is so crazy what's going on now. And I say that because it's being used as propaganda rather than fact. Apparently, the National Security Council, and they have an office on the White House, came across a number of instances where members of the Trump campaign, including the president himself, showed up on intelligence wiretaps. That's transcripts of secretly recorded conversations. Two White House guys called Nunes, the head of the House Intelligence Committee, to the White House to look at the stuff, to look at what was thing. Nunes then said, oh, I saw shocking stuff. It didn't have anything to do with Russia. It was shocking, 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 and talked to President Trump about it. Okay, so that's what happened. Is there a scandal here? Is there anything here that you're seeing as our security expert that I'm not seeing?
Well, there is a sort of scandal in the fact that this wasn't the National Security Council servicing these documents. It was a couple of Trump appointees assigned to the National Security Council. This wasn't H.R. McMaster. And it was clearly another attempt to divert attention from the main issue, which is a question of whether or not Vladimir Putin's regime was able to penetrate the Trump campaign and potentially the administration.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, though. But don't you feel it's important, though, if Donald Trump and some high member of his transition team are caught on wiretaps, and as you know, it's supposed to be blanked out. They're not, and now they're on transcripts in our intel agencies. I think that's an important story, is it not?
No, I think it's a BS story, and it's phony, and nobody's released those. We don't know what was on it. I will tell you, unlike so many of the instant pundits out there, I actually worked in the intelligence world for over 2 decades. We take great care not to include the names of U.S. citizens unless they are under some sort of serious investigation. So if those names were not blacked out in the transcripts, that tells me that the people were under serious investigation, perhaps part of the FBI investigation. But it's another red herring. It diverts attention from the primary issue. And as for Congressman Nunes, this week last week and this week, he stepped on more banana peels than a caterpillar has feet.
Yeah, he's not handling it methodically, that's for sure. But I still don't see. No, but don't you think there's a possibility? And again, I don't want to be like the other cable stations and raise speculation that there's a political component here inside some of these intel agencies that do the tapping, do the wiretapping. And they don't like Trump. They don't like his people. And if they can put them in an embarrassing position and subsequently leak it to a newspaper, they might do that. Isn't that in play here?
No, I think that's absolutely untrue. If you were able to tell who voted for Trump, you would find the people in the intelligence agencies, the rank and file people, probably voted overwhelmingly for him because they despised Hillary Clinton.
You
now,
have more,
right. Political appointees at the top are another question. Our intelligence agency, contrary to the nutcase conspiracy theories, they are patriots who defend this country every single day. They don't spy on Americans. And, as back to Congressman Nunes, all he had to do when he took that call from the White House was say, yes, I'll come over, and I need to bring my counterpart, the ranking member, with me.
Absolutely. And I told him that he shouldn't even gone to the White House. He should have gone to a neutral location.
Well, this all stinks. It all stinks.
All right. Now, is there anything in the Russian investigation, which the Senate delved into today, that has caught your eye? Again, it's all speculation at this point. We know the Russians did it, but was there cooperation by anyone? We don't know. Anything that caught your eye?
Well, there are two crucial questions, crucial to the security of our country and the sanctity of our elections. The first has been answered. The intelligence communities are unanimous, based on hard evidence and extensive evidence, that Putin did interfere in our presidential campaign. The question that remains unanswered is whether or not the Putin regime was able to penetrate the Trump campaign. On that, we have, so far, the public, you and I, only have circumstantial evidence, all the meetings with Manafort and Flynn and Page and Gordon and now Jared Kushner with the Russians during and after the campaign. Now, that is circumstantial evidence, but it's not business as usual. That is the number of meetings and contacts. There is a lot of smoke there.
Manafort was well before the campaign, and during, like that, and the other ones were, I don't know.
Bill,
if that's
please.
The headline, you got to then wait. To be fair, we have to wait.
Yes, and the trouble here, the scandal really for me, is that both sides are politicizing
this. There's no doubt.
Every American who cares about this country and the legitimacy of our elections,
Do you
every
think the
American,
FBI
right left
will
or
get
center.
it? Do you think the FBI will find out what happened?
Well, I'm encouraged by the Senate's attitude, but you're absolutely right. The people that will get to the bottom of this, and it may take a long time, the FBI working with Treasury, they're going to follow the money.
I didn't meet anybody, no Russians, nothing. I'm clean.
I don't know, you look a little Russian to me sometimes.
Nope, not me, Irish. It's a long way from Moscow. Colonel, thank you. Plenty more ahead as a factor moves along this evening. Ted Koppel and others believe cable news, in particular Fox News Channel, harming America. What does Bernie Goldberg think about that? And later, spring break craziness underway. Found some college kids rejecting that. They're doing good stuff with their time off. Well, hope you stay tuned for those reports. True Serum segment tonight, sanctuary cities and crime. There are 3 studies, and they're confusing. Here now to put the truth on the table. Our correspondent Shannon Bream in Washington, Eric Shawn here in New York City. All right, the first study was published by a far-left outfit for the Center for American Progress, right?
Yep.
It was done by what? University of...
the Center for American Progress, Progressive...
They did it themselves?
Yes.
They didn't farm it out?
No.
Okay, and they found out what?
They found that crime in sanctuary cities is down by 15%.
Are there over cities that don't have these permissive policies toward illegal alien criminals?
That's correct. They found that in sanctuary cities, there are 367 per 10,000 crime. In non-sanctuary, there are 432 per 10,000. Okay. But, Bill, big but, The study also said that sanctuary areas have a lower unemployment, higher household income by like $4,000 a year, fewer people under the poverty line. So is it the chicken or the egg? Is it because it's a sanctuary city, or is crime down?
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe the study at all. I think it's a totally bogus study. My opinion, but we have an obligation to present it. Second study done by whom?
Yeah, second study is done by University of California. Here it is right here by Riverside. And they say there really isn't any difference.
No difference, flat.
No difference, although they think violent crime is up a bit. But basically, overall, no difference. They studied 54 cities from 2002. That's when sanctuary cities started to be developed. And they found that some crime went up. San Francisco, where Kate Steinle was so savagely murdered.
Big property crime place.
St. Louis, Milwaukee, St. Paul up, down, Washington, Baltimore, New York, and they say most people are concerned about deportation. But overall, it's a wash, according to them.
And the third study was from a group that doesn't like illegal alien permissiveness, right?
Yeah, that's the Center for Immigration Studies. That's pretty shocking. They tracked 8,000 illegal aliens who were in the system at one point, and they said of those 8,000, 1,867 were rearrested after they were already.
So 8,000 illegal aliens who were arrested.
Yep.
All right. So the center got their names and then tracked their behavior after the arrest.
Yes.
And what was the percentage? 23%?
No, about 22% rearrested. And some, Bill, were for crimes like rape, child sex abuse of children.
Why were they out in the first place then?
Well, they don't go into that. They just go through the statistics that they were let out. Some people were convicted.
Right.
Yeah, and they were just freed back out on the streets.
Well, the recidivism rate was about 22%. Yeah. What else did they find?
Yeah. Well, they also went through the people who were released. 63% were threats to public safety. So it looks like they're at one point releasing people who were threats, who were recidivists, who went out.
That's what the center they described them that way. Okay, they were violent people.
That's their records. That they were either originally convicted or they were charged with, in some cases, violent crimes.
Violent crimes.
Let back out.
63% of them, and they were let back out.
Let back out on the street, and many of them did it again.
All right. Now there is a man named Daniel Ramirez Medina Shannonbream, who was swept up by ICE February 10th outside of Seattle and kept in confinement. Big story out there because he's one of these dreamers, comes under President Obama's act that will leave these people alone who came to the United States with their parents or a relative, and it's not their fault they're here. So what happened to Medina?
Well, it sounds like immigration officials were actually going after his father, and we're told that the father, according to ICE, was deported 8 different times. He's actually served time for a felony drug conviction here in the U.S., but they happened upon the son, and so he got brought in. They say he's got a gang tattoo. His lawyers say it's not a gang tattoo. It's a tattoo celebrating where he was born. And they say also, the immigration agents, that he admitted to gang ties. Now, that's disqualifying under the special program that you talked about.
If I remember correctly, he said, look, I used to hang with them in California, but I came up here to Washington State to get away from them. But the bottom line, I hate the bottom line, but the end result is a judge let him out. He's out, right?
Yeah, and you know what? He'd been offered a bond hearing before by the immigration judge. He turned it down because he's got a separate lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security in federal court. He was petitioning that judge to let him out. Now, they're letting his lawsuit proceed, but they wouldn't let him out. So he goes back
Medina and his lawyers are suing ICE for bringing him in the first place, although he was caught with his dad in the same house. They were living together, and his father was a convicted felon with 8 deportations on his sheet.
Right.
But now Medina is suing the federal government.
Right, and he's out now, and apparently ICE just got back to us and said there's no check-in, he's not wearing a monitoring bracelet.
He's a dreamer. He can go around dreaming. He's got a hearing in May. He can just dream the day away, and he wasn't employed, by the way. He didn't have a job.
Unemployed.
Right.
He's got a young son, and he's unemployed.
Yeah, 3-year-old son, I think. All right, so he's out, and we appreciate you guys. Thanks very much. When we come right back, Bernie Goldberg on a very provocative question. Is cable news harming America? Bernie is next.
Factor, the #1 cable news show for 16 years and counting.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In the Weekdays of Bernie segment tonight, as we reported earlier this week, legendary TV journalist Ted Koppel got into a bit of a dust-up with Sean Hannity over cable news. A year ago, Mr. Koppel was right here on The Factor saying essentially that we here at Fox are harming the national discourse. I actually laughed that off at the time, but after watching how some cable news programs are treating President Trump, I'm rethinking this. The hatred on our two competing networks is pretty much off the chart, as everybody knows. And it is polarizing the country to some extent. Joining us now from Miami, the purveyor of BernardGoldberg.com, Mr. Goldberg. So I am changing my opinion. You know, I used to think that the battle between conservative and liberals was, you know, it was predictable, but it was okay. You could watch it. But this new hate deal, this has really changed things.
Okay. Look, are they hammering President Trump? Yes. Does it feel like a feeding frenzy? Yes. Does it sometimes cross into hate criticism? Yes. So, are they polarizing America? Yes. But you leave out a couple of very important things. The first thing is that by any rational standard, Donald Trump has said and done so many things that are unpresidential that he's handing ammunition to his enemies. As bad as they are when they cross into this hate, Donald Trump isn't an innocent victim. And the second thing you leave out is that polarization is a two-way street. There's plenty of slobbering in certain places in conservative media over Donald Trump. And that also contributes to polarization.
But I don't think
because everybody is taking sides.
I don't think that's as harmful. Because, look, if you look at President Bush and then President Obama, you had that. You had some slobbering. You had some criticism. You had back and forth. And I lived through both of those eras. Nothing like this. There are conspiratorialists now on cable television given hours to weave these, and you saw my commentary a couple of weeks ago. I mean, you know, Donald Trump's on the grassy knoll, right? He's really Sasquatch, you know, and they just on and on. No boundaries at all. It's just totally different.
Bill, you're right about that, and I watch because it's part of my job, and I sit there and I say, these people are nuts, but I think you give them too much credit. Look, Donald Trump won the election with 46% of the vote. That's when it was a choice between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. There's no choice like that. That's history. Now the only choice is between approve and disapprove. And according to the latest Gallup poll, Donald Trump got 35% of the vote. That's terrible.
Well,
35%.
CBS has him at 40, but something interesting happened today, and overwhelmingly Americans believe that he will improve the economy. And if he does, a year from now, he'll be up in the 50s. But I don't even care about the political aspect of it. I don't care about it.
I do. Let me finish my point here, okay? He's down on the daily tracking poll. He's down to 35%. Maybe it's a little higher. Who knows? But this is a terrible number. He's losing people who voted for him.
That's because of the health care debacle, though. It's in context. Look, this is the key, and this is Koppel's thing. Koppel believes that we at the Fox News channel, because he's basically a social liberal. I don't think he's a crazy left-winger, but he's a social liberal. We are harming the nation because the nation now looks to us rather than the straight news. And it's never been straight, you know that. They always slanted the news left at the networks. Come on, Ted. But we're the bad people. I'm going to give you the last word. Go.
Well, I think Ted misses a point, and he's right on another point. The point he misses is that cable has given a voice to knowledgeable people who have something important to say that Ted's network and the others never allowed to say.
That's right.
That's number one, and he misses that. But the second point he makes about how cable is polarizing America. Cable didn't start the fire. Cable didn't start the polarization. That was around before cable even existed. But because people are choosing sides, because people go to this side if they like Trump and that side if they don't like Trump, that is adding to the polarization.
But it used to be you respected, or those of us who had a clear-eyed, respected points of view opposite ours, now you have to hate them. And that's what cable news has brought, and it's terrible. Bernie, thank you. Water's on deck. It's spring break time. But this year, we're not going to show you drunken kids passing out on the beach. Waters has a story that's actually inspirational. Next. Back in the book segment tonight, Waters' World. For decades, college students have used their spring break vacation to party hard and sometimes embarrass themselves. But there's another take on this. Students from the University of Delaware and other schools are working near Charleston, West Virginia this spring to improve the lives of people in the area. Water zeroed in on one man whose house was severely damaged by flooding.
So what are you doing out here for spring break?
I'm here with UDAB, the University of Delaware Alternative Breaks Program, and we're here fixing up a house in Appalachia.
How much time each day do you spend working on this house?
We're here for about 9 hours a day.
9 hours a day, and you're not getting paid?
Nope.
Most freshmen at the University of Delaware are in Panama City Beach right now doing booty shaking contests, and you're here building homes.
I don't think I'm missing much. This is much better to me, to be honest.
What made you want to do volunteer work for spring break?
I've been doing volunteer work all my life since probably when I was 6. I firmly believe that giving back to this, your community or any other communities, great.
I've been volunteering a lot throughout my life, and it felt natural to use my spring break to come and do something like this.
It's just the most rewarding thing that I could possibly feel.
Did your parents make you come here for spring break?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Nope.
You're here for how long?
Just 1 week.
Just 1 week. So your friends are out funneling beers on the beach.
I definitely miss my friends, but UDAB is such a great opportunity where I'm making new friends every day.
Do you find that some of your friends in college judge you for doing something like this?
They judge you, but in a positive light. Everyone really looks up to everyone that goes on these kind of trips.
All my friends are really supportive of it. They actually helped me make the decision to come on the trip. Being away and getting to cut that all off, and we don't really have reception here, so I don't even have a phone to see what people are doing. It's really nice to actually leave that all behind and do what's really important.
It's really rewarding. We work really closely with the homeowner, Preston. He's awesome.
When did the students come and help you out?
It started 3 weeks ago. They had a crew come in to do the living room floor. They also built the porch, the back porch.
Nice. I'm not going to quit my day job. How appreciative of these students are you?
Tremendous. There's no words that you can put in say that college students is going to come to West Virginia to help me instead of going somewhere else to party and stuff like that. It's just brave. They're all brave.
We're just screwing in this 2x4 to put up a frame for the wall.
We actually had a lot of leakage and water damage problems.
They're putting a tin roof on because it leaked in 5 different places. That helps out a lot. When the flood came through, it just destroyed everything.
Now that I've been here, I think that I've become more attached to the community, and it's really nice to be helping the community as a whole and Preston as an individual.
Well, thank you guys very much. I tell you to behave, but you're already doing a very good job of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and always remember one thing. Waters, and this is my world.
So here's Waters. Now the man who owned the home, he's poor, right? I mean,
he's very poor. He was hauling iron his whole life and broke his neck and his back. So now he's on disability, cannot work. Bought the house 4 years ago, and then the flood destroyed everything. And they hooked up with these college kids, and they've been working there almost 9 to 5 every single day. They've done 20 homes over the course of spring break.
Wow! And
this Appalachia Service Project has done a lot of great work for a lot of poor communities in this area.
All right. So when we make fun of the kids and all of that, and the best thing is no cell phone service.
That's good.
Get away from it for a little while. Great story. You're going to run some of this on Saturday night, I hope?
Yeah, we're going to run a little bit of that.
Good.
And we're going to do a Maxine Waters investigation.
Oh, keep me out of it, all right?
You're out of it, but we're going to let her have a little bit of it.
Jesse Waters, 8 p.m. Saturday night. Fact and tip of the day, more help for American vets. The tip, moments away. It's a good thing for vets in a moment, but first, big thank you to Cindy Adams of the New York Post for her nice review of Old School, Life in the Same Lane. Ms. Adams, one of the last old school entertainment columnists. She actually reports facts, not just gossip. Also, Laura Ingram gave me a heads up about this Hank Williams Jr. song.
I'm from the old school, but I made up my own rules. But I learned a thing or two from some pretty good teachers. My education has served me well. One look at me and you can tell my music's true. A class reunion of the blues. I'm from the old school.
Right on. Now the mail. Kelly Newcomb, Pflugerville, Texas. Bill, I totally agree with your point that the hatred towards President Trump has gotten personal. Granted, he bears some responsibility, but this has gone on for too long. Jim Gass in Middletown, Rhode Island. The reason the left hates Trump is that he opposes their agenda of politically correct socialist global government. Charles Lepresto, Phoenix, Arizona. Trump's brash personality, Twitter insults, party affiliation, and unexpected election have combined to fuel the hate. Peter Skavosky, Colorado Springs. Bill, we found your comment that anyone paying 24% to a credit card company is a moron. Unfair. After losing everything in the real estate collapse, high-interest credit cards were the only ones we could get. Didn't mean to offend you, Peter, but if I am in your circumstance, I don't buy anything on credit at that rate unless I absolutely have to. Cash only. The smart thing to do. Tony Pensario, Running Springs, California. Bill, obviously you're in a tax bracket that has no idea how the rest of us live. Oh, come on, Tony. I have the same friends I had in first grade. Regular folks. Don't give me that kind of elitist stuff. Christine Belena, Brandywine, Maryland. I've learned in my lifetime that those who call others racist are usually racist themselves. They do that because they lost the argument. They use the R word to marginalize, Christine. It's right out of Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. You brand people who disagree with you in a negative way. You demonize them. That's why this is going on. Andrew Smith, Rochester, New York. O'Reilly, I applaud you for apologizing to Maxine Waters. It takes a noble person to do that. I'm reminded of this quote. Show respect even to people who don't deserve it, not as a reflection of their character, but of yours. Good quote, Andrew. Robert Kenselman, Beaver, Pennsylvania. Killing the Rising Sun was so engaging, I could not put it down. I remember my two uncles who fought in the Pacific, awakening at night, screaming. The brutality of that time, very hard for us to fathom, Robert, which is why I wrote the book. Andrew Cienzo, New York City. I'm a junior at Regis High School and just finished reading Old School. The wit is unsurpassed. Excellent, Andrew. You go to a good school. Regis is a good school. Also, Robert Samuel and the Contributing Factor podcast, folks, have me on. It's posted up there right now. You can access that on BillO'Reilly.com or iTunes. No relation to Looney Tunes. Following tonight. Fact tip of the day, we've been very successful here at The Factor, bringing attention to American veterans who need help. We've raised millions of dollars for wounded vets and partnered up with folks who directly help veterans in a variety of ways. This coming Saturday at Hofstra University on Long Island, any vet in the country can get free law advice on anything. Program runs from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., but you must make an appointment. We posted the phone number on BillO'Reilly.com and the email address. So if you're a vet, you want free legal advice, call Hofstra University and you'll get it. Factor tip of the day. And that is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, please spout off about the Factor if we've annoyed you. Anywhere in the world, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name it down, name it down, name it down. If you wish to opine, word of the day, do not be meretricious. Ooh. Do not be meretricious. SAT word when writing to the Factor. Again, thanks for watching us tonight. I am Bill O'Reilly. Please always remember the spin stops right here because we are definitely looking out for you.